Tim Burton brings his vision of a dark dreamland to the big screen in a live-action remake of Dumbo. But what did he change from the original movie, and how does it compare to the animated classic? Yippee-ki-yay, movie lovers, I'm Jan, and today I'm explaining the top 12 biggest differences between Disney's 1941 Dumbo movie and the brand new live-action Dumbo film. Plus I'll be revealing some Easter eggs to the original movie you may have missed. One of the biggest changes in the live-action movie is that there are no talking animals. That means that Dumbo's best friend Timothy Q. Mouse is no longer part of the story, though we do get a nod to him as two of the movie's new characters, Millie and Joe, have a little mouse circus, and not only is one of their mice dressed like the animated rodent, but we even see it eat a peanut, just like the first time we met Timothy in the classic film. Millie and Joe in fact take on the role that Timothy played as Dumbo's confidant and champion, so they stand up for Dumbo when he's mistreated, comfort him when his mother's locked up, and help him with his flying. In keeping with the filmmaker's desire to make the world feel as real as possible, Dumbo's mother, Mrs. Jumbo, is actually pregnant with her baby in the live-action remake, meaning there are no baby delivering storks, though there is an Easter egg to their animated role as we see them in the new movie just before we glimpse baby Dumbo for the very first time. Like in the original, Mrs. Jumbo protects her young son from bullying and threats, which once again lands her in elephant jail, though on this occasion the filmmakers up the stakes, making the consequences for shielding her son even more dire, though they also add a modern twist to her eventual reunion with her little one. There's no chorus of female elephants to criticise and ridicule Dumbo this time, but he does get more than enough of that from some of the circus workers, crowd, and even Danny DeVito's ringmaster at first. Talking storks, elephants and mice aren't the only creatures cut from the live-action film. Also canned are the crows who helped young Dumbo fly, and their use of feathers and psychology to encourage his aerial abilities is taken over by Joe and Millie. The crows' absence from the new movie is hardly surprising, given they've been heavily criticised as racist stereotypes of African Americans. There is a little Easter egg to their famous song When I See an Elephant Fly though, when the Dreamland ringmaster introduces Dumbo's act with a slight variation on the following lines from the crows.
Well, I seen a horse fly.
I seen a dragon fly.
I seen a house fly.
Most of the live-action film's new characters are human, but there is one notable new animal addition, a monkey who, just like the other animals, never talks and is completely computer-generated. The new CGI primate reminds me of the popular real-life one that featured in the Night at the Museum movies. And like that capuchin monkey, this new mischievous monkey's role is to add some comic relief, which it does plenty of by performing both Shakespeare and damsel in distress routines as part of the circus, and also by popping up in some surprising places.
Is that a monkey in your desk?
Just for emergencies.
Just like the star of the animated movie, the computer-generated lead of the live-action film is entirely adorable. And despite the many tweaks to the airborne elephant story, such as the origin of his name and how we find out he can fly, Dumbo's character remains as heartwarming and moving as before, which means his adventures will likely break your heart before finally putting it back together again. And the film's core messages of self-belief and that difference is strength, not weakness, are still very much there. Indeed, they're further highlighted by Dumbo's adopted human family. The classic movie lasts a mere 64 minutes compared to the new film's almost 2-hour runtime, so it's hardly surprising there's plenty of new material in Tim Burton's reimagining of the tale. In fact, the scene where Dumbo flies down from a burning building at the end of the original film is recreated about a third of the way into the live-action movie, and is really the jumping off point for a whole new strand to the flying elephant story, which is now set just after the First World War, rather than during the Second World War when the animated film was made. In another change, this time Dumbo doesn't get drunk on champagne and hallucinate pink elephants. However, there is a gorgeous version of that memorable moment as the circus performers make bubble elephants that multiply and dance. There's even a suggestion that the new baby Dumbo gets mesmerised watching the performance as he nods along to the music with an entranced look on his face. When it comes to songs, Dumbo takes a leaf out of Disney's live-action Cinderella rather than their recent take on Beauty and the Beast, with only one of the full songs from the animation making it into the new film. Actress Sharon Mooney, who plays a circus mermaid, gives a sweet performance of Baby Mine, the beautiful lullaby that accompanies an emotional scene between Dumbo and his mother. And you should listen out for some nice Easter eggs to the animation's other famous songs, including a nod to Pink Elephants on Parade, as well as Danny DeVito singing a couple of lines from Casey Jr. Plus, during the credits, you'll hear different versions of those songs again, as well as a jazzy instrumental of When I See an Elephant Fly. With the lack of talking animals, the human characters in Burton's movie become much more important. Danny DeVito is great as a struggling circus owner Max Medici, who has a bigger role in the new film than the original ringmaster. Initially, Medici wants to hide Dumbo's large ears from the circus-going public, and although he echoes some of the animated elephant's mean words and locks up Mrs. Jumbo, he turns out to be a much more obviously sympathetic character than his animated counterpart, as he tries to do the best he can for his large circus family of strongmen, mermaids, snake charmers, and more. The addition of Michael Keaton's V.A. Vandevere is a major change from the original animation, where although the chorus of elephants are incredibly nasty to Dumbo, and the tormenting boys are also horribly cruel, there's no one standout villain. In contrast, Keaton's ruthless entrepreneur who's desperate to buy Dumbo's circus so he can exploit the miraculous pachyderm and make a mountain of money, adds a new and interesting plot to this version. It also takes us to Dreamland, a theme park that Vandevere sees as a future of entertainment, but which has a much darker side. Something else the filmmakers wanted to achieve with the human characters was that Dumbo's story would be a way for them to reflect on their own situations. So, for example, former circus star and wounded war veteran Holt Farrier's relationship with his children parallels the relationship between Dumbo and Mrs. Jumbo because, just as young Dumbo is trying to reconnect with his mum, so too Holt and his children are trying to put their family back together after being forced apart by the war. Millie and Joe also know how it feels to have lost a mother, which adds an extra dimension to the bond they form with Dumbo. Although the human characters are a neat way for the filmmakers to differentiate this version of Dumbo from the original, they're an area where the new movie can fall a little flat. Even though they get more screen time than their animated counterparts like Timothy Q. Mouse, generally they don't make the same impact. The issue isn't the cast list, which is suitably impressive, including Colin Farrell, Eva Green, and Alan Arkin. The thing is that there are almost too many new human characters to the point that they're pretty thinly drawn. Still, this is Dumbo's story, and there's still a lot of sweetness, tears, and joy to be found in this beautifully designed world. Now it's your turn to let me know which is your favourite Dumbo movie. Tap in the top right, and after you've cast your vote, you'll be able to see the results. If you enjoy deep dives, theories, and behind-the-scenes secrets about your favourite Disney movies, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell to get all my new videos. Thanks for watching and see you next time, yippee-ki-yay movie lovers!